Memorial Day weekend was one to forget for the Portland Thorns and the Washington Spirit. In the Rose City, Jason McDonald got some payback for the club that traded her, finishing a ball from Keely High to give Houston 3 points. While in upstate New York, it was Jasmine Spencer grabbing some revenge as the smallest player on the field scored the biggest goal of Western New York's 3-2 victory. With the World Cup break around the corner and 7 teams within 3 points of one another in the middle of the table, getting nothing tonight is not an option. Saturday, the National Women's Soccer League starts now. Michael Menegonce, Daniel Malagari, and I said it right there, Danielle, early in the year, but this is a pivotal match.
Oh, absolutely, especially considering this is the only team that the Spirit have not beaten in franchise history, and they definitely want to get back into the win column after the loss last week to Western New York.
And also something we talked about with the Spirit sweeping Sky Blue is tiebreakers.
Absolutely.
They've tied their first match this year, Portland and Washington. Second one, the only one in DC's tonight.
Right.
And then the next to last week of the season, they'll play again in the Rose City. So if the Spirit can get a win tonight, they're in a good position to potentially win a tiebreaker with Portland.
Sure, absolutely, and especially when Portland is a little depleted with the World Cup players away. Obviously, the Spirit is as well because Ortega just left to go with Nigeria. But, you know, this is going to be a great match, and hopefully the Spirit can come away with a win tonight.
You mentioned depletion for Portland, especially in the back line. They've had a lot of injuries. Rachel Van Hollenbeck is back tonight, but not starting.
Right.
So we expect Sue Paul stick with that 3 in the back. That's the formation he's preferred, but also he's playing it out of necessity right now.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Either way, it could be tough for Portland, especially if the Washington Spirit are throwing their 3 forwards at them all night.
Starting lineups tonight for Portland is Michelle Betos in goal, Emily Mingus, Kat Williamson. We expect Kendall Johnson to slide back and be that third defender. Taylor Camo, McCall Zerboni, Sinead Farley, Ayo Ananma, Mayana Shim, and Ali Long in the midfield. And then Kelsey Haycock, the amateur from LaSalle, getting the start up top after Sarah Jackson started last week.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about this before. You said there was only one pro that's currently on the bench. So, like we said earlier, just a little depleted for Portland Thorns, but they're still going to put a great product out there.
For the Spirit, that back 5 really has not changed the last couple games. Kelsey Weiss in goal, Catherine Reynolds, Estelle Johnson, Megan Oyster, Whitney Church across the back as she has displaced Alex Singer for the last couple matches. In the midfield, it'll be Christine Nairn, Angela Sam, and Joanna Lohman. No Tori Huster tonight. 50-50 that she's available as a substitute, but not starting, and that's a rarity.
Right, and actually she's down there in her sneakers right now, so it doesn't look like she'll be going in at all. But, you know, Lohman, Salem, and Nairn have done a great job in the middle of the field and all have put in significant minutes. So, obviously they'll miss Huster this evening, but the 3 of them are absolutely up to the task.
Up top on the wings, it'll be Laura Del Rio and Amanda DaCosta. And Crystal Dunn, Mark Parsons talked about this week. We're expecting to see Crystal Dunn play that center forward spot tonight.
Right. We've talked about her time and time again about how versatile she is. And it just another notch for her, I guess, in a position that she's used for the Spirit.
Dunn coming into the league as the co-top scorer with 5 goals. She's got a point, a goal and an assist in her last 6 matches. After coming out the bench against Houston, she's now got a goal and assist in every start she's made.
Right, exactly. And what a great player she has become in the front for the Spirit as opposed to where she was found a little bit as an outside back last year.
So with Huster out, really, Nairn moves back in line. DaCosta started last week against Western New York, so she's still trying to kind of prove herself and settle in. And Del Rio, who started early in the year and then had a right hamstring injury that cost her a couple games, she's back in the line for the first time since the second game of the year.
Right, absolutely. So Mark has done a great job. Mark Parsons has done a great job, and he can bring players off the bench and kind of flip-flop them around a little bit. But tonight, it's just who's going to score the goal because Ortega's gone. Obviously, Crystal Dunn has the 5 goals that she has this year, but who else is going to add to the goals this evening?
And that's been the problem as well for Portland. Scoreless in their last 2 matches, despite getting a ton of chances. They actually outshot Houston last week 18-4.
Wow.
And couldn't score. And, you know, normally, Danielle, if you want more offense, you change your formation. They're already playing 3 in the back.
Right,
There's not much more you could do to jumpstart that offense.
Exactly. And, you know, we saw that a couple weeks ago as well when Sky Blue was here. They outshot the Spirit. I'm not exactly sure what the stats were at this point, but they outshot the Spirit, and the Spirit came away with a win.
It was 21-9.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard. That's hard to walk away from, outshooting an opponent 21-9 and not getting the W.
Yeah, and Portland's kind of been on the opposite end of that, like Sky Blue was 2 weeks ago, where they've created a lot of chances. 18-4 last week, as you said.
Sure.
In that Boston game 2 weeks ago, a fluke turnover in stoppage time.
Right.
You know, 1-0 Boston wins instead of Portland at least getting a point on the road.
Right.
Teams going through their final warm-ups right now. Referee crew standing at midfield as the center official tonight is Farhad Dadko, Benjamin Wooten and Michael D'Angelo are the assistant referees. Ali Salihi is the fourth official. Thorns in the blacks tonight with the white on the front and the red on the sleeves, black shorts, black socks, the Spirit. And their new kit as well this year, the blues with the red on the shoulders, white numbers, red shorts, and red socks. Coaches getting the final words, and Paul Riley, of course, a very successful coach in WPS with Philadelphia before getting the Portland job last year after Cindy Parlow-Cone resigned and took the team to the playoffs last year. But road games have been a problem for this squad of late. They're winless in their last 9 away from Portland.
Well, I certainly remember the last time they were here.
Yes.
Where they did come away with a huge win. I believe it was like 6-1 or 7.
That was 2 games ago.
Oh, 2 games.
I
Okay.
think you missed the tie here.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
They
That
tied
was it.
here. Spirit 2-0 at home this year. We talked about the dramatic 1-0 win over Sky Blue FC, and before that, it was their best performance of the year, I think, that 3-1 win over FC Kansas City in the second game of the year. Little ahead of schedule here at the Plex, so both teams sitting and waiting a bit for the final word from our center official to get this one underway. Spirit will attack the scoreboard in here in the first half. The Thorns attacking Spirit Hill. And as you said, Danielle, Spirit have never defeated the Thorns, the only team in this league they have never gotten 3 points against. But it's been coming. The last 2 meetings have been ties after a couple of losses to open this series, so momentum on the Spirit side in those terms, but looking to finish the job today.
Anything's possible anytime you step out there.
Crystal Dunn and Joanna Lohman will get us underway here at the Maryland Soccerplex. Nairn going left for Reynolds. Del Rio checking at midfield as Reynolds will go square for Christine Nairn. Now back for Estelle Johnson. First 15 minutes have been really hurtful for Portland. They've conceded 4 of the 7 goals they've allowed in the first 15 minutes this year, including 2 to the Spirit. Ortega and Dunn very early in that game a couple weeks ago.
And unfortunately in that game, they ended up tying 2-2. Fortunately for the Thorns, they tied 2-2. But the Spirit do put out some of their best performance when they get themselves ahead early in games.
Williamson under pressure for Dunn going back, and Betos off her line will play it under between the legs of Crystal Dunn, and Spirit will restart quickly with Betos still out of her cage. Del Rio playing it inside, looking for the run of DaCosta coming along, but it's deflected and now handled by Ali Long, who goes left. Back again in the center of the park for Long. Kendall Johnson, as expected, playing in the back as it looks like Camo is going to function as a right back as well, and it's not going to quite be a 3-back all the time. It might be more of a 4 when the Spirit are attacking.
Yeah, it seemed to look like it was a 4-back when they lined up at the beginning.
They're up on looking for Io, headed by Whitney Church. Cross inside, brought down by Haycock. Charging forward is the left back for the Spirit, Reynolds. And she'll go short for Del Rio. In the space looking for Crystal Dunn, but Williamson will track that and go back to Betos. Well, we saw 2 weeks ago, Danielle, Maya Hayes got the tough job of marking Crystal Dunn and did a good job. It was Dunn's assist, not her scoring.
Right.
FC, but tougher task now with Dunn in the middle. Williamson is going to have to track her, and I think that's the reason why you maybe play 4 in the back instead of 3.
Oh, exactly.
So you have some help to mark Crystal Dunn.
Sure, especially with how hot she is, with the goals that she scored and everything she's put forth for the front line for the Spirit. And in the center of the field, starting in the center of the field, who knows where she can go? She can go right, she can go left. Even when she starts on the flank, she's all over the place.
Mentioned Francisco Ortega getting officially named to Nigeria's roster. World Cup starts next week. Can't wait. Reynolds playing it over the top. And our halftime guest, Ann O'Dong from the women's game, making the trip over from Australia, stopping over in the U.S. before heading to Canada. So we'll talk to her at the half about all things Australian soccer, and I'm curious to get her opinion on the U.S.'s preparations.
Absolutely.
Things have not gone well today against South Korea.
Right. Well, what a great game for her to come out to. I believe you said earlier this could potentially be her first NWSL game that she's been to, which is great.
Full-time 0-0 in that friendly at Red Bull Arena. Not good.
I'm sure it was a little frustrating today.
Turn from Dunn. Shot from Dunn, deflected by Kat Williamson. We'll have our first corner of the match. It'll come from the left side. I was going to say I was looking forward to watching that game on my DVR, but maybe I'm not. Looking forward to watching that game with my DVR. Change the Spirit of made in the last couple weeks, Danielle, has been Angela Salem taking these corners instead of Nairn. She'll take this one from the near side. Church available short, as is done. This is something we saw last week, the last couple weeks, is that option for the short corner. Nairn making the near post run, marked by Io. 4 Spirit players at the far post. Salem chooses to go long. Good ball towards the far post. Headed on frame and headed off the line. Nice job there from Taylor Como to save a goal, and the Spirit will do it again.
In the last couple of outings for the Spirit, their set pieces have been pretty dangerous, where in the past they have not been. But Joanna Loman's been able to get on most of the set pieces, especially the corners in recent games.
Same spot, but this time into the top netting from Angela Salem. Tried to go the same distance, about halfway into the 6-yard box, and just mishit that one. But a free goal kick for Michelle Betos and the Thorns here in the 5th minute. Good start here from the Spirit, though, to put some early pressure on. .50 ball won by Del Rio for the Spirit, brought down to midfield by Zerboni. Now knocked forward by Monashem. Karate punch there from Megan Oyster. But again, the ball will fall at the feet of the Thorns and Sinead Farley, who goes with the outside of the foot up the left side. Anama chasing Whitney Church, and the rookie out of Penn State will let it go for a very deep throw-in. Anama, the latest addition to this Thorns squad, her 3rd appearance is coming over from playing for Turbine Potsdam in Germany. Alex Singer's old club over there.
I think we need to do some international friendlies for from the different teams from the different countries in the women's game. I think that'd be exciting to see. I would like to see how some of the NWSL teams match up with some of those German teams.
Yeah, there's been talk of an international Champions League, and I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Reynolds working up the left side, and too far for Del Rio. I mean, you meet at a neutral site, maybe in January or February, it could be a preseason for, the NWSL clubs. You have Kansas City, you have a German club, have a team from the Japanese league, a team from the Australian league. That would be a lot of fun. Whistle here, and a free kick, and a good spot for the Spirit on the left side. Good spot for Christine Nairn to serve a ball in. Be a free kick for Christine Nairn. Dunn steps over. Service from Nairn. A good one towards the 6. Betos off her line, makes the punch. Second ball will be cleaned up and knocked long by Haycock. Another look for Nairn on the left side. Going down the channel for Crystal Dunn. Double team now and knocked off the ball. And Anama will turn upfield. Dunn recovers and will drop it back to Estelle Johnson.
Going back to the save that Betos just had, she has huge shoes to fill. Huge shoes to fill, and she steps in every single time and just does a great job in the goal for the Thorns.
Farley, forward for Haycock. Now drop back for Shem. Left intended for Zerboni, broken up and handled now by Whitney Church. Western New York, of course, making a lot of changes in the offseason, and I think the one that maybe surprised me the most was trading McCall Zerboni, their captain. Going west for Amber Brooks. Del Rio. Now Reynolds. Ball into space. Loman is onside. Gets a step on Williamson. Loman at the top of the 18 takes a shot and saved by Betos. Betos did well to cut down that angle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Betos just was well off of her line. Joanna Loman just didn't get enough to get it over top of her, but Betos did a great job to read it. But that was a good bit of combination play from the Spirit. Up, back, and then through, and Joanna Loman was in.
Loman now doing her usual midfield job, getting a deflection in there, but possession stolen away by Allie Long. Como now for Long again at the center stripe. Williamson square now for Menges. Second-year defender out of Georgetown. Turns it over. Into space now for Dunn, but good body control there from Menges to shake her off. Play it up the left side. Io. Back now for Shim, wearing those distinctive blue boots today. And out for a Thorns throw. Quickly taken up the line. Church there battling against Farley and knocking it out for a deeper throw in for Portland.
Going back to what you just said about distinctive boots, I think everybody has distinctive boots these days. There's no just black cleats anymore.
Switch towards the middle, towards Haycock, wins the header over Reynolds, but can't put it on frame. It will be a goal kick. Yeah, in fact, there was a story last year about how Christine Nairn wearing black boots was kind of distinctive in its own way.
Yeah,
the
that's very
the
true.
tradition has now become unique. Nairn coming off a penalty kick goal and an assist last week with Western New York. And I forget who I read on Twitter that said this, but I totally agreed. It was weird to not see Diana Mathis taking a penalty kick for the Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
First time somebody other than D. Mathis taking one is Nairn buried her try last week. It's a decent backup option, Christine Nairn.
Not too shabby.
Zerboni. Camo. Back for Long, who has switched spots now with the amateur. Williamson for Mingus. Back towards Io, headed by Megan Oyster. Kept alive by Church, and now knocked out for a throw. Farley. Fights off Lohman. Drops it for Allie Long. Camo on the right side. To the feet of Io. Touching it back. Good step from Dunn to win it for Del Rio. Whistle there, and the foul goes against Allie Long. Del Rio brushing off her knee. Which reminds me, this is the first game, Danielle, that the Thorns have played on a natural surface this year. Every other game's been on turf.
Sure, and that does absolutely change the game. Absolutely changes it. Allie Long just looks incredibly unfazed by that foul.
Of course, she knows this field well, having played on it for the Washington Freedom. Once again, it'll be Christine Nairn to tee this one up left-footed from the near side. The Spirit captain hits a good ball in towards Oyster. Over everybody, and Betos will let it go for a goal kick.
Betos did the right thing there. She just held her line, not really knowing where it was going to drop, but really it was just a bit too far in front of all the Spirit players for anybody really to get a good touch on it.
Michelle Betos has been a backup for her whole career in this league, but she's gotten a lot of chances to play.
Right.
She was the starter when Hope Solo was recovering year one in Seattle. She got a couple looks last year. It seemed like all against the Spirit when Nadine Ongerer was gone. And now with Ongerer called up by Germany officially for the World Cup, it's Betos' job again.
Exactly. And that's what I said earlier. She has huge shoes to fill every single time, and she always steps up to the task regardless of what team she's with.
Space for Del Rio, crossing towards the middle, towards Lohman, and Betos again making a nice play right on cue. Goes short this time for Allie Long. Forward now for Haycock. Good touch into space for Io. She has a step on Reynolds. Io at the edge of the 18, looking for options. Fakes with the left foot, now takes a nice move with her right. Io shot towards the far post and nobody home. Tried to make something out of nothing there and did make something, but not quite enough.
The players that were crashing for the Thorns were just a little bit too far into the box. More central than anything.
Oyster will knock it deep. Bad touch there from Long. Allows Crystal Dunn to pick it up. She'll go square for Lohman. Del Rio to her left. She'll play the Spaniard. Del Rio cutting inside, opening up some space first off. Now into the channel for Dunn. Dunn unable to run it down. But the right idea.
Yep.
Lohman with a strong start to this match.
Absolutely. What a great ball in for Dunn. Just a little bit too much on it. She let it roll beyond her. She couldn't catch up to it. If anybody's going to catch up to it, it's going to be Dunn. She's a little bit out of her reach.
Well, and something we've talked about before is how much easier it is for a goalkeeper to read that ball that's coming straight instead of at an angle. And Lohman really didn't have a lot of choice there. She had to play it pretty much square. Williamson will play it deep, looking for Io. Header won by Estelle Johnson. Flicked on now by Reynolds. And space for Del Rio to look upfield now. Nairn. Beats one. In tight quarters, she'll be forced back. Good work there from the Thorns with their shape to force that pass back. Church. Salem. DaCosta. Now Lohman. Reynolds, speaking of blue boots, once it left. Del Rio now circling inside. Overlapping now is Lohman. Reynolds dispossessed by a good tackle from Sinead Farley. And knocked out for a throw-in. Sinead Farley was a player who I really thought was hurt by the gap between leagues, because I thought she was really coming on in WPS for Philadelphia, and then had that year or two where she wasn't playing. And she's been a good player in this league too, but I think she's finally starting to find that form again.
Oh, absolutely.
With Paul Rowley, her coach again.
Sure. And how great is it that she is playing underneath him after playing, doing such great things out in Philadelphia.
Part of that great tree of Virginia midfielders that has brought us Morgan Bryan and Danielle Colaprico in recent years, and Lori Lindsay. Back a little bit further than that, just a little. Sarah Huffman as well, who played for the Thorns last year before retiring. Shem, Zerboni. Lohman fighting for it with Dunn. Dunn will bring it down now. Trying to play it up the line for DaCosta, but it's broken up. And Williamson will go short for Allie Long. Long is, Haycock is fouled by Johnson. Long is tied for the league lead in shots on goal, which if you would have seen her play a couple years ago for the Freedom, you wouldn't have expected that.
Exactly.
Because she was very much playing the role that she's playing today, where she's kind of that shield for the back line and not getting forward much. But she's become a very dangerous attacking player, and that's why she's gotten a sniff from the national team in recent years.
Right. And I read something earlier that said that, you know, her and Shim have combined for like 7 of the 9 goals for their team. And we really haven't seen much out of her today in terms of getting forward.
Yeah, it's been Haycock kind of playing that lone striker where she's held the ball well, and then Io's run off of her, but it hasn't been so much from Long and Shem. With all these players gone for the World Cup, Mana Shem has had to step forward as well, and she's, like you said, Danielle, has had a great year making that transition from substitute to starter this year. Farley fouled in the middle of the park by Lohman. Lohman will give that a frustrated juggle.
And what a great chance. You know, anytime the international players leave for friendlies or the World Cup or next year the Olympics, you know, all these players get the chance to step up and get valuable minutes in all of these games.
Do you shoot from here, Danielle?
Absolutely.
4-player wall, so the Spirit thinks so.
Yeah.
I would shoot from here.
Yeah. I don't know where it would go if I would shoot. Probably would go way over, but why not?
Zerboni, Long, and Shem eyeing this one. Long with some hand gestures there. Will it be the orange boots or the blue boots? Long positioning the run of Io. Now Shem will run off. Chip from Long into space. It's a good ball headed down by Church and cleared by Angela Salem.
That was actually a great service by Allie Long. You know, kind of in no man's land. The keeper doesn't want to come off their line. Megan Oyster had to do a good job to win that 50-50 ball.
Oyster does well there to shoot it off Io and hand Kelsey Weiss a goal kick on the 17th minute. No score here.
I think in that situation, why not take a shot and test Kelsey Weiss? Really, Kelsey Weiss hasn't had to do much so far in the first 17 minutes.
Long. Outside of the football for Io, who is onside. Io in the box, tucking it by Kelsey Weiss. And the Portland Thorns have taken the lead in the 18th minute. Nice finish, nice pass.
Absolutely. And kudos to Io for just continuing with the play. Oyster stopped, raised her hand, thought she was offsides, but what a great finish by Io.
First goal stateside for the Equatorial Guinea International.
And that's a frustrating goal for the Spirit to give up. You never want to stop because you believe, you know, that the player is offsides. You keep playing until you hear the whistle.
Allie Long's second assist of the year and adding to her franchise-leading career total of 38 points now. That first goal has been huge for the Portland Thorns in their history. They're 19-1-5 when scoring first.
That's not good for the Spirit.
Crystal Dunn now, trying to equalize things quickly. Dunn at the top of the 18, fakes the shot, looks for options. I think she wanted to pass that one to Lohman, but not on the same page, and Betos comes out, and That's something we saw last week with Western New York, where one team would score and the other team would come right back down and score the other way.
And it's just so crazy to see Crystal Dunn just dart straight at the top of the 18. She had 4 players on her. 4 players on her. Somebody's got to be a little bit more available than what they were.
Yeah, we needed 5.
Yeah.
She almost got through.
Exactly.
Space now for Sinead Farley. 1-2 with Shem. Cleaned up by Estelle Johnson. As the sun comes out here at the Plex, and Spirit concede a throw in the 19th minute. So Portland ending a drought that went back to the last game against Washington. Long scoring the 51st minute from Mona Shem. So trying to do some quick math here. That was about 235 minutes, give or take, without a goal. Del Rio triple teamed and belated whistle, and Allie Long says, what? Spirit's attack has mostly been through set pieces, with the exception of Lohman and Dunn combining once or twice. Del Rio trying to turn Camo. Good cross in towards the far post, but nobody there in red and blue, as DaCosta was at the top of the 18. And Thorns will blow it out of the back.
And that's a play. Del Rio kind of made something of nothing there. DaCosta needs to be crashing the box. She was about 30 yards away from the ball on the service.
Well, and I think with the rookie amateur Camo playing on this right side, the Spirit are going to target that side all night. Lohman into the channel for Dunn, but again, too much. That combination is going to work one of these days.
Yeah, the idea is there. It's just that final pass, the final ball in behind. And actually, that's a great idea. 15 yards up, I think that's a great ball in for Crystal Dunn. She'd absolutely be able to get on it.
We mentioned in pregame, Danielle, the Thorns chokehold on this series. Entering today, these two had played 540 minutes against each other. The Thorns have led for 354.
Wow.
They've had the lead for about 2 minutes now, thanks to Io's first goal of the year. Nairn trying to play it over the top for Dunn, but Beto's wise to it. And I think that strategy of playing not quite sweeper keeper, but high is a good idea against the Spirit, where you know they're going to target Dunn's speed over the top.
Absolutely.
Going back to that point about the dominance, the Spirit have led in all of one of the 6 games against the Thorns, and that was the last one. 2-0 lead in Portland that turned into a 2-2 draw.
And going back to the point you just said about Crystal Dunn, and this is kind of difficult having her as that center forward. Maybe as an outside forward, the diagonal balls are on a little bit more. The straight balls into her as that target striker are just going to continue to fall right into Betos' feet.
I think the Spirit have a lot of those outside forwards, but they don't have that true center forward with this current player pool right now. I think Rodega played that role very well.
Yes, absolutely.
Del Rio's played there a little bit. Dunn's playing there today. We see Nairn play there at times. Dunn charging again. Goes left for Del Rio at the top of the 18. The Spaniard will rip it across the face of goal and just a step out of the run of DaCosta.
Right. Well, great to see DaCosta actually getting in that time. Like I said earlier, she was just a step off earlier on the service from Del Rio.
Spirit's forward pool getting a little bit more shallow this week with the release of Caroline Miller.
Right.
And it seemed like that was a move that Caroline wanted, where she wanted to go somewhere where she was going to play a little bit more. Mark Parsons couldn't guarantee her that and gave her release. So her fight back from injury, she made a couple substitution appearances, will have to continue elsewhere.
Right. And she did well in her rookie season for the Spirit. You know, she was definitely a spark off the bench, but I'm sure it was just so incredibly frustrating for her with their injury and how long it took to get herself fit and ready to play.
So now you're looking at Tiffany Weimer as your attacking option off the bench, and really that's about it, unless you move somebody up the field. Lohman drawing a foul there.
Well, that's actually an interesting call. It looked as if Joanna Lohman actually left her feet on her own. Looked like she really had no pressure.
McCall's Raboni asking for an explanation. Satisfied for now, she'll get it and join the wall in front of Christine Nairn. Spirit will cluster players on the left edge of the box for either a service from Nairn or a rebound. Everybody in black behind the ball. Nairn will hit it on goal and force a leaping catch for Michelle Betos.
Christy Nairn's always good for that sort of shot or service. A little bit hard from that angle, but Betos did a great job to read it.
Mangus. Central for Shem. Hard work there from Farley to work it back. Betos going near side for Camo, stepping, but unable to control it and knock it out for a throw in. Parsons shouting instructions from the bench as the ball's back in touch. Salem for Reynolds. Back for Estelle Johnson, a triangle of former Western New York players. And now another one in Kelsey Weiss. Weiss chipping it left for Reynolds. Talked about Betos' ability to take advantage of the chances she's been given as a backup. Certainly that applies to Kelsey Weiss as well. Stepping in Western New York last year when Eddie Franch went out for the year, and now doing the same with Ashlyn Harris on national team duty.
Sure. And Kelsey Weiss was their saving grace at their last home game against Sky Blue. She was just an absolute brick wall. And that's what you want to see in your second string goalkeeper.
Reynolds forced back to Johnson. Nairn, good turn there to lose Zerboni, and now dump it into space, getting a piece of it, and now a chance for DeCosta, the chip over the keeper. Betos has her hand up, but all the referee does with his hand is point to the center circle.
Right.
We're tied at 1.
Absolutely, and I actually thought it was offsides, and you see Allie Long yelling at the official. You kind of have to wonder if he doesn't have great vision with the sun in his eyes right now. I was just thinking that prior to that goal, but you know what? Kudos to the Spirit for taking advantage of that ball.
Well, and the deflection by Kat Williamson would have reset things, and I think that definitely would have put a Spirit player offside.
Yeah, sure.
As it came off of Williamson on the initial service.
But you know, same thing that happened on the Thorns goal. Don't stop. The whistle does not blow. You cannot stop and raise your hand. You got to just compete until you hear that whistle.
So Amanda DeCosta's first goal back in the U.S. in the 26th minute gets us even, and another Spirit Thorns game with a lot of scoring.
And we like that here.
Yes.
We like the excitement.
7th meeting between these two. We've now had a 3-goal game, a 2-goal game, a 2-goal game, a 7-goal game, a 2-goal game, a 4-goal game, and now a 2-goal game. Paul Riley said this week he likes playing Washington because they'll play soccer. They don't just sit back if they get a goal.
Right.
They actually will go back and forth with you, and that's how Portland likes to play too.
And I do think since Portland's goal, the Spirit have definitely had the upper hand in the possession.
Mentioned that stat earlier about Portland only losing once in 25 matches when they score first. The Spirit have come from behind to win 5 times out of 33 when conceding first. Five wins, 5 draws, 23 losses.
Wow.
But first game we had here this year, down 1-0 to FC Kansas City. 3 goals to finish it off and get a win. Betos, who couldn't have done anything with DeCosta's finish, but makes a mistake there, and Crystal Dunn says, thank you very much, 2-1.
Right, I mean, you never want to do that. It's so unfortunate. You know, they've done just so many good things. Betos has done so many good things. Just an unfortunate touch, and then she slips, and Crystal Dunn just sweeps it right up and puts it in, buries it into the back of the net.
Crystal Dunn now moving to sole possession of first place in the league with her 6th goal. She now has a goal and an assist in 7 matches in a row.
And now she's wondering why she wasn't chosen for the World Cup roster.
That's Crystal Dunn 1, U.S. National Team 0 today.
Right. I mean, that's just an unfortunate mistake by Betos. She's just got to lift herself up after that.
So great response here from the Spirit. Down 1-0 to lead 2-1. Johnson goes tumbling. 2 goals, 3 minutes apart for the Spirit. DaCosta in the 26th, Dunn in the 28th. And that's a habit of this Portland team, is in the tie against Chicago, they give up goals in the 4th and 8th minute. In the tie against Washington, they give up goals in the 3rd and 14th minutes. So bunches of goals. Once they give up one, the second one, more often than not, has come against them. DaCosta now. Back for Church. Oyster knocking it forward, and after her goal, I don't think Io's touched the ball in the last 10 minutes.
Oh, no, I don't think so. But like I said, after Portland scored that goal, it kind of the switch kind of flipped a little bit. The Spirit really started getting more possession of the ball, and they've been on the ball most of the time in the last 10, 15 minutes or so.
And without Tori Huster in the lineup, they've shown a lot of comfort really building out of the back. The passing's been pretty crisp. There haven't been a lot of mistakes. Nairn, Lohman, and Salem have done a nice job in front of that back four to keep possession.
Right. And if you notice, obviously they just gave that ball away, and then they start kind of compressing a little bit defensively. But when they have the ball, their spacing has been really, really good.
Yep. Huster, if you're just joining us, available as a substitute, but Mark Parsons said 50-50, but as you observed, Danielle, not even with the cleats on today.
Right.
Came out early in that game against Western New York, did Tori Huster, trying to fight her way back from injury. A left ankle sprain. Ball intended for Lohman will come all the way through to Betos, and this time she'll pick it up.
Well, that mistake was kind of similar to what we saw Chantel Jones do last year against the Thorns when she kind of just passed it right to Alex Morgan. Alex Morgan buried it, and just, the game kind of went from there.
It's a great point. Shim chipping it forward. Io will fight against Whitney Church on that far side. Touch it into space now. Early cross, knocked in towards Haycock, wins the 50-50 header. Second header now, and a free shot from Farley, and a great save from Kelsey Weiss.
Kelsey Weiss was already leaving her feet. I think when the ball came off of Farley's head, she was already kind of moving for it. She was just already falling down, but she made a good save after the initial stretch. She's
got to be saying, how is Sinead Farley so open right in front of my goal? First corner of the match for the Portland Thorns will come in the 32nd minute off the right foot of Allie Long. Good serve in towards the far post, headed by Farley, still loose, and that one came up on Salem, and she was able to clear it. I was a little worried that might hit the arm on the way out, but apparently it didn't, and if it did, it wasn't obvious. Good ball back in the box for Comeau. Cross back in, touched by Reynolds, chance now, and Io is denied by Kelsey Weiss. I believe we had a whistle here anyway.
I'm not exactly sure what the whistle is about. I didn't see much contact in the box. Kelsey Weiss did a great job to come off her line and just shut down Io.
Io having a word with the official and still not too happy with the explanation right now. And the referee saying no more. But like you said, Daniel, I didn't see much there.
There was no contact. Io struck the ball as Kelsey Weiss's hands were getting behind it. So she was only doing her job.
Unless she pushed the defender to get there. But that's not something that I saw.
No.
Best spell from Portland, though, since their goal right there. Sinead Farley involved quite a bit. Here's Crystal Dunn against Williamson. Dunn in the box, splits the defenders. Dunn with the shot towards the near post, and Betos makes the save.
Sometimes the shots that Dunn gets off, you wonder how she even does. She had 2 to 3 players around her at that point. Hard for her to really get the ball to the far post on that shot.
Mentioned Dunn getting her 6th goal of the year. She's now scored more goals in Sky Blue FC and as many goals as FC Kansas City this year. Menges. Turnover to Salem in midfield. Left for Del Rio. Reynolds. Again for Del Rio, who's had a good first half. In the middle for Dunn. Somehow gets to that ball, shakes Williamson and draws the foul. And
Seems as if there might be some card coming. Oh,
Persist-
offsides.
Okay, I
Nope,
didn't see the flag.
offsides. It must
Yep.
have been prior. I thought I was reaching into his pocket for a
Yeah,
card
I mean,
or something.
I thought he was pointing at spots that you fouled her there, you
Right.
fouled her there, but no, it wasn't offside. Thorns subs getting loose, and you have to think Rachel Van Hollenbeck, hobbled or not, is not pleased with the job the defense has done, and maybe she is someone we see at the half if she's able to go for 45. Header flicked on by Haycock, knocked on now by Farley for Io. Church gets one tackle in, two tackles in, but Io comes out on the other side. Oyster steps in and knocks it out for a corner.
I actually think that the Thorns back line hasn't been doing a bad job. The 2 goals they gave up were kind of 2 mistakes.
True.
You know, one on Betos and the other, stopping thinking it was offsides. Other than those 2 mistakes, I really think they've been pretty solid because all of the other chances the Spirit have created haven't been incredibly dangerous. Unless Crystal Dunn's on the ball running at him.
Couple fouls, too, that they've given up in dangerous positions,
Yes.
but sometimes that's part of the trade.
Exactly.
Trading a foul for giving up a good shot at the top of the box. Short corner here from Portland into the 18 and easily cleaned up by Oyster. Dunn wanted to head it into space for herself, but Mangus with a Dunn had pulled that off. I was just going to put the headset down and walk away. A little bit of confusion here in the back, but coming out with it with the ball is Kendall Johnson. There's Dunn again getting a deflection, forcing Comeau to come back to Michelle Betos. And this time Crystal Dunn says, once is enough, I'm going to let you have this one.
Exactly. Well, I was just thinking, I've never seen a target striker run like her. I guess that's, why she is so dangerous as this high striker for the Spirit tonight. She just works.
Zerboni getting it back from Farley. Shem, who's been quiet today. Johnson up the line. Mingus for Io. Chip up the sideline. Brought down well by Io, who turns inside. Looks for help. Goes square for Zerboni. Sliding past to avoid the tackle from Del Rio. Works in Comeau on the right side. Chip in towards the top of the 18. Cleared by Estelle Johnson. Brought down now by Dunn for Lohman.
I actually really like Joanna Lohman in this attacking midfielder role today. I think her fitness looks great. She's moving off the ball. She's getting forward. She's getting chances. I really enjoyed watching her today.
Something we talked about, I think, the first game of the year, Danielle, about how we like Lohman better as an attacking mid than a defensive mid, which is where she's played for Boston the last 2 years. And I also think it's something that revitalized Lori Lindsay a little bit last year, moving up the field a little bit.
Oh, sure.
38th minute. Thorns down 2-1, building out of the back through Mingus. Church there, knocking it up the line and giving away a throw in. Mentioned the Thorns thin bench. Rachel Van Hollenbeck, the only professional under contract player on the bench. Couple reserves as well that are amateurs. Contrast that to the game we mentioned earlier, Danielle, where Jessica McDonald came off the bench for this team.
Exactly.
In the 6-1 win here at the Plex. World Cup call-ups. Taking away Jodie Taylor.
Right.
Alex Morgan, Christine Sinclair, Tobin Heath. The list goes on.
They're going to be killer when all those players do come back.
I think a lot of teams in the league are saying that.
Yeah.
If Matheson can win this race back in time to play in the World Cup, put her back on that wing, that'll look pretty good for the Spirit. Shipping towards long. Cleared forcefully by Reynolds out for a throw-in. And, I think Veronica Perez has played very well for Mexico in their lead-up friendlies. She'll be back in the fold. Ari Romero gives them another good option in the back. I thought she played very well for Houston last year.
The Spirit and the Thorns definitely have some ringers coming back once the World Cup is over.
Out for a goal kick for Weiss.
I don't know if that's the appropriate term to use. Ringers.
I like it. Allocated ringers.
Yeah, ringers.
Spirit will go to Houston next week before they have 13 days off for the World Cup break. The Thorns will, excuse me, that's the Thorns that are going to Houston on the 6th. The Spirit are home next week against Boston. If I could read, that'd be dangerous. Farley. Long. Camo. Looking for Farley, broke it up well by Estelle Johnson. Back comes Dunn to win the ball. Camo does what a standard ground. Dunn gets the foot in and gets called for the push.
Other than once or twice when Del Rio's gotten beyond Camo, I think she's actually done a really good job so far.
She's really impressed me. I thought she played well in a more advanced role against the Spirit the first time these two met. The rookie out of Cal, I think, is something that could play her way into a professional contract here very soon.
Right. And one of their most dangerous opportunities was a service in from her. So she's definitely getting up and back as that right back.
I'm not sure she expected to get that ball, but there it is from Monisham. I don't know why you don't knock that forward there.
Yeah.
You're on your back foot a little bit if you're Portland. You're down a goal. Try it. Try something. Playing it back to your wide open right back is not a high percentage play.
Right. And then they just send a long ball in anyways and give it away for a throw-in.
Done. Del Rio. Left into space. Reynolds will call off Lohman. Lots of space for the Spirits left back as Lohman will overlap her. Nairn. Salem. And now Oyster. There's that spacing you were talking about, Danielle. Lots of options that are open for the Spirit right now. Lohman. Del Rio. Good turn from Laura Del Rio. Now she can chase and attack and take the shot and force a good save from Betos. Rebound loose, and Betos will beat Lohman to that one.
Really, on Del Rio's first touch, she really wasn't expecting to have so much space, so she just set herself up nicely to hit a decent shot that Betos had to make a good save on.
Allie Long, who got the assist on Io's goal back in the 18th minute to give Portland the 1-0 lead. Since then, it's been all Spirit. DaCosta in the 26th off a deflection that put her in on the breakaway. And then Crystal Dunn picking Michelle Betos' pocket in the 28th minute to give the Spirit the 2-1 lead. Spirit were in the same position last time they played the Thorns, up 2-1 late in the first half. Took that lead to the half, and then Allie Long scored in the 51st minute to get the Thorns a share of the spoils.
Other than the goal for DaCosta, I think she's been pretty quiet this evening. Not much of the play has gone up the right flank.
Well, I think it's because of what we talked about earlier. You're picking on Camo as much as you can rather than Emily Mangos, who's one of the best rookies in the league last year. Giveaway there from Farley to Salem, and Spirit will get possession. Coming up at the half, we'll have a couple features on our two national team players, Ashlyn Harris and Ali Krieger, as well as a conversation with the women's game's Ann O'Dong, coming over well from Australia to view the World Cup and taking in some NWSL action in between. Looking forward to getting her thoughts on the U.S.'s group, which of course Australia is in. Del Rio, again battling Camo, and again getting a step on her, but runs out of space. I believe that was out before she got the cross in, and it was.
She's a bit too far.
Thorns taking their time on this goal kick. 50-50 header won by Lohman. Chested down by Crystal Dunn. Turned over to Allie Long. Johnson. Io. Shim. Johnson able to run it down. Good turn there from Sinead Farley. Crossing towards the top of the team, towards Zerboni. Skips by her as coming over to Mark was Oyster. Comes all the way out, and Del Rio will pick up the pace a little bit. Beat Io to that ball and now turn upfield. Dunn wants it at her feet. Del Rio will instead try and play it square, but it's blocked by Long. And out for a throw-in for Washington. Dunn. Now on the same page as Del Rio, who will touch her toes in frustration. Lohman winning it for Del Rio. And back for Estelle Johnson. Our Del Rio, of course, playing against her former coach, Paul Riley. Had her in Philadelphia, and she made a good showing right in front of her old boss.
It's always great to see, you know, as the years go on and, you know, leagues have changed, players have changed, teams, just, you know, how much it really hasn't changed, though. Right. Because, you know, all the players that have played for these certain coaches in the different leagues, they're still, you know, top players on top teams and so on and so forth.
Jim Gabera's tree, I think, might be the biggest.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Goes back 3 leagues now.
Right.
Not even counting the amateur.
Yeah, not even counting W League, yeah.
Johnson will hit it long. Fucked on by Del Rio. Williamson off the bounce. We'll play it for Menges. Knocked forward. And a minimum amount of stoppage time as we see the end of the first half. And Danielle, the Spirit, found themselves in a hole thanks to Ios goal in the 18th minute. But since then, they played very well for the final 60% of this half.
Oh, absolutely. And they did capitalize. Unfortunately for Betos, they did capitalize. Crystal Dunn's speed. Betos just takes a bad touch. Crystal Dunn runs onto it and just buries it into the back of the net. But sometimes, you know, the goals don't have to be pretty as long as they're going in the back of the net.
Well, and you know, this team, I wondered this year, how long could they continue to get,
right,
not lucky, but make chances like that?
Sure.
They've done it consistently.
Exactly.
They're getting a goal off of turnovers.
Exactly. And DaCosta's goal was actually a great goal. She
Yep.
did flick it over Betos, but there was a little bit of a confusion. The Thorns thought she was offsides. But same thing happened where Megan Oyster stopped and rose her hand, and Io put the ball in the back of the net thinking she was offside. So I guess it kind of goes hand in hand.
So the two teams will head for the gates. The fans on Spirit Hill will head for the concession stand. And we'll step aside here at halftime of this match here at the Maryland Soccer Box. The score of the Washington Spirit 2 and Portland Thorns 1.
In 2006, I broke my leg 2 days before the NCAA tournament. I was a junior in college at Penn State. I got surgery 2 days later. So I would crutch to go into a different room only 10 feet away, and I was breathing so hard. Something was wrong. And I get to the hospital and they put me through, and said, okay, why are you here, blah, 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 put me through all the tests and said, okay, we need you to come back immediately. And I get back to the hospital bed and I was laying there just totally in shock. I had no idea if I would live. With all the tests, we need to put you on blood thinners. You are having a pulmonary embolism and you have multiple blood clots in your legs and your lungs and you're experiencing many heart attacks. And they said if you would have fallen asleep that night, then you probably most likely wouldn't have woken up. And hearing that, it just put a lot in perspective for me. I was 21 years old, and I wasn't sure at the time if I would live and, follow through with my dreams of playing at this level or, continue playing soccer at all. Lying in that bed, for the week, and seeing my parents there and my friends coming in from school and my best friends, from my team and just at Penn State. That was in itself an uplifting experience because I knew how many people cared about me. My brother at that time was in a bit of a different place. He was struggling with addiction, and during that period he actually didn't realize that was happening. It was actually right after that he made the decision to become sober. He's like my mentor. He's a huge inspiration for me. He builds me up and makes sure that I realize how great of an experience this is and how great that these moments are. He keeps me grounded in that and, makes me realize that not everyone gets this opportunity, so I need to take it and I need to, make sure I give it my all.
Hold on to that.
Welcome back to the Maryland Soccer Bus. Michael Minnick alongside Danielle Malgari and our special guest, Ann O'Dong from the women's game. Welcome.
Thank you.
First NWSL game?
Yes, it is.
What do you think?
I'm enjoying it. It's a different kind of atmosphere to the W League and really, really loving it.
All right, tell me some differences. So you've seen a lot of W League matches. I've never seen one. Tell me about it. What's the difference?
Well, first of all, amazing crowd. I know that apparently it's a little bit down in terms of what we've seen in last couple of weeks, but still an amazing crowd, great atmosphere, and also really like the pomp and ceremony that occurs at the beginning of the game, which is something that we don't really get in Australia, so it's awesome to see here.
Talk about your travel. I'm sure you're going up to Canada after this. Is that the plan?
That is the plan. I'm doing 10 days in New York and also down here in DC before heading off to Winnipeg on the 6th for Australia's first game against the USA on the 8th.
I'm sure you were hearing in the press box down there how the U.S. did today. Is that 0-0 tie? Give Australia a little bit of extra confidence?
I don't think so. I think Australia knows exactly what the type of quality the US have. I think they would have learned quite a few things from that match, particularly with South Korea. They played them a lot in the Asian Confederation. In fact, They played them last year in the Asian Cup. I think they would have picked up a lot of things in relation to how the Korean defensive block worked, which I thought it was excellent. And I saw them in the Cyprus Cup and they really did struggle to shut down teams, and they went down to Canada and really didn't create much or struggle defensively against Canada. So this game was really, really good to see them just working on everything. And they actually held up their fitness quite well. I think they went up to about 80 minutes before they started to look like they were flagging.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your predictions for the U.S.-Australia game?
Oh, look, everybody knows it's going to be a tight group.
Absolutely.
And we saw that Sweden defeated the Netherlands 2-1 earlier on this afternoon as well, with Lotta Schellin and Kosvara Slani scoring the goals. I think it's going to be whoever's best strike force turns up, because at the moment the defences all have their own weaknesses for many reasons.
Absolutely.
But those attacks are incredible. Like
Sure.
you look at the American attack with Press, Morgan, Rodriguez, LaRue, and then you've got the Australian attack with Simon, Kerr, Devanna, Ford, and then you've got the Swedes and also the Nigerians are bringing with one of your own in Francisco Rodega. So
Sure.
incredible strike forces.
Yes, absolutely. This is going to be definitely a tough group to get out of.
Oh, and I think if you do get out of this group, it holds you in really good stead. A lot
Sure.
of the other groups, maybe not the best preparation for knockout football for some teams like Japan and Germany,
Right.
but definitely for this one, yeah.
Great.
Here with Ann O'Dong from the women's game, of course, an expert on Australian soccer in particular, but the women's game in general. You mentioned the familiarity with the Australians and the Americans. Of course, we've played in your league. The Australians have come and played in this league as well. How do you think that relationship has helped the two national teams and those players in particular?
It's been incredibly important to have good quality internationals come to the Australian League, particularly as it was just growing. I mean, women's football, pro women's football, even though it's not, it's semi-professional. It has only been around for about 7 seasons in Australia. So having good quality internationals, and there are a couple in the spirit. Angela Salem, Tori Hasta, Catherine Reynolds all played for the Newcastle Jets this season. Alex Singer played for Perth Glory for a number of seasons before going across, and of course 1 or 2 from the Portland Thorns.
Sure.
So it's really important to have that, and also for the American players, it's almost 9 months worth of football then they get to play instead of just the 6 months.
Lori Lindsay as well. Played her last professional soccer in Australia.
Christine Nairn was over there.
Yeah, Christine Nairn as well. And Laurie, really, really happy and really quite lucky to see Laurie's last game, and she played an absolute blinder in the grand final to help Canberra win over a much fancied Perth. So, look, a lot of those players do a lot in terms of the youth development for Australia. So I think it's a really good symbiotic relationship between the two nations.
Good.
And then the flip side of that, we know we've seen a lot of Australian players come over here and do very well. How has that helped the Australian national team and helped those players?
There wouldn't be a group of death if it wasn't for the fact that the Australian players have come across here. They've learnt professionalism, and they've also learnt the intensity that they need to be playing at. There's been a core group of about 8, 9, 10 players in the last couple of years that have come across, and that's meant those players have taken back that professional attitude. I think one in particular is Sam Kerr.
Absolutely.
Sam Kerr, since she was 14 years old, she's been a naturally gifted player.
Sure.
But in America, she learned that you have to work hard.
Exactly.
And she's learnt it from the American players like Carly Lloyd. And she's come back to Australia and absolutely tore up the league last year and was really the best player in the league.
Great.
All right, we'll let you go with this one. What is a good World Cup for Australia, and what is your prediction for how far this team can get?
Look, a good World Cup for Australia, I think, would be a quarter-final. Particularly, it means they've won their first ever knockout match, which they've yet to do. And I think they actually can get to the quarterfinal. I think even if they get out third in the group, it means they have a decent round of 16 game and they move up to the top half of the draw, which a lot of the big teams, if it goes by seeding, are going to be congregated on the bottom half of the draw. So I think that would be a good World Cup for Australia, but I know internally they're aiming for medals. And Coach Alan Sturgis has said it time and time again, have the firepower. I think the question mark, as always, is going to be the defence and how it's going to be able to hold up.
And thank you very much for your time. Enjoy Canada. I'm jealous.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
Loving it.
And O'Dong from the women's game joining us on our halftime show. The Washington Spirit leading the Portland Thorns 2-1, and we'll take a look at national team player that's headed for Canada, and then we'll be back with the second half. Thanks for staying with us.
I grew up in a lower class family. I had an older brother who I tried to fit in with. I was a skateboarder, I was a surfer, I was a thrill seeker. My dad used to just drop me off at the skate park. I would be the first girl just going as fast as I could to just a drop to my death. I grew up playing with guys. Baseball teams, I was the only girl. Basketball teams, I was the only girl. Soccer teams, I was the only girl. And I was a bit aggressive, but I had to be. Otherwise, I wouldn't be taken serious, and I wouldn't have been respected. Some guy told me some few things that hurt my feelings, telling me I was a boy and I was a wimp. And at the time, there was like red tide or something. It killed all the fish. They washed up ashore. I just grabbed one of those things, boom, right across the face. He went running. They came up to my parents and were like, "Your daughter just hit my kid across the face with a fish and he's cut." And my mom was like, "I can't really control her too much." So it was just earning my peers' respect and standing my ground as a woman and saying, like, you can say what you want, but I'm gonna come right back after you. I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of my small little hometown. I wanted more. At the time, my dad tried to go to college and he didn't finish. My brother tried to go to college and he didn't finish. I knew that this was my way out. It was an opportunity to bring me somewhere where I probably wouldn't have been able to go. I have history in my family of addiction. I just had this big passion to use my voice and use it in a positive way. We're all broken people, but we just have to learn that it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to be real, and it's okay to have hard conversations. And I held that like so strong in my heart. Working with To Write Love on Our Arms has given me a platform to use my voice in a positive way to help people who are struggling. Addiction, depression, self-harm, suicide, who need a shoulder to just lean on, need someone to talk to feel wanted, to feel accepted. It's just me creating my own journey on this earth and my own path, and not being held down by expectations or what people want from me, but just living freely, living the life that I imagined and staying true to it.
Welcome back to Maryland Soccer Bites. Michael Mennick wants that Danielle Malgary and Spirit taking a 2-1 lead to the locker room. Danielle, what adjustments does Paul Rowley make first of all to try and get his team back in the game?
I really don't think there's any reason to panic for the Thorns. I think once they scored, there was kind of a lull. But once the second ball went in the back of the net for the Spirit, the Thorns really started to pick up their pressure a little bit, got into a little bit better of a rhythm. So I don't think there's any reason to panic because they've done good things and they've created good chances. They just got to kind of put the ball in the back of the net.
Mentioned it in the first half. The Spirit in the same position they were the last time they played the Thorns, 2-1 lead at the half. What does Mark Parsons say maybe differently to get his team to get a different result?
Don't let up.
Right.
Just continue to knock the ball. I think their possession has been very good tonight. And just be a little bit smarter in the back, because the one goal that was scored was just on a mistake where Oyster raised her hand, thought she was offsides. Just continue to fight, continue to battle, and just be smart in the back.
Waiting to see if there's going to be a change. It was like Rachel Van Hollenbach's ready to go. She's going to be a halftime change for Paul Rowley in Portland. And we talked about it, coming off an injury, so maybe not 90 minutes fit, but Paul Rowley thinks she can at least give him 45.
And what a great person to have coming off of the bench, you know, with all of her experience and what she can add to the back line for the next 45 minutes.
Has a little bit of a chat with Tiffany Weimer, her former teammate with the Thorns, as Tiff heads towards the Spirit huddle. So Van Hollenbach tying the boots, and I'm looking to see who might be coming off for the Thorns. What to the fourth official officially puts the board up before we confirm what it looks like. It's going to be Haycock that comes off. So if that's the case, interested to see what change that makes in the formation, because Haycock was playing as that lone forward. Right. So now do you push a Farley up or a Long up, or Io, I think, is the obvious choice.
Oh, yes. And Io's done a great job at looking to get in behind. She's gotten end line and put a couple services across. She's definitely been probably the most dangerous player so far for the Thorns.
Sub officially announced, Van Hollenbach for Haycock. So we'll reset the lineups for you. For Portland will now be Betos, Mingus, Williamson, Van Hollenbach, Johnson, Comeau, Zerboni, Farley, Io, Shim, and Long. Washington unchanged from the first half as Kelsey Weiss will backstop behind Catherine Reynolds, Estelle Johnson, Megan Oyster, and Whitney Church. Christine Nairn, Angela Salem, Joanna Lohman had a very good first half in midfield. And then Lara Del Rio, Crystal Dunn, and Amanda DaCosta. Dunn and DaCosta on the board so far for the Spirit. DaCosta's goal in the 26th minute, tying this game after Io's goal in the 18th, and then Crystal Dunn off a steal, making it 2-1 in the 28th minute. Cover your ears if you don't want to hear the other score from tonight. 0-0 at the half between Boston and Kansas City. So that's a result that suits the Spirit just fine.
Okay.
If they can hold this result, they'll be on 13 points. Kansas City would be on 11. Boston would be on 8, and Portland would be on 8. So the Spirit would move into sole possession of second place. Underway here, Portland attacking from right to left towards the scoreboard end in the second half, and it looks like Io will be the new forward after moving from a wide position. Van Hollenbach will slide in at right back. That also allows Camo to push up the field, and I think she's going to be more suited and more comfortable in that role as a midfielder rather than an outside back.
Oh, yes. But she did well as that outside back in the first half. She was getting up and down the field, getting some services in, making some good defensive plays.
Zerboni back for Williamson. Farley. Williamson was the player that was pleading the case of DaCosta being offside the hardest after the Spirit's tying goal. As the through ball had deflected off of her, and that went into DaCosta's path, and she finished it.
Yeah.
But her argument was that she was offsides in the first place. And
I actually think, I don't remember who the player was that was kind of mixed up. It might have been Joanna Lohman. I thought maybe Joanna Lohman was offsides, but definitely not DaCosta.
Johnson rising for it, headed on again by Reynolds, and now cleared by Oyster towards the sideline. Como with a touch, marked by Del Rio. Good turn there from the former Cal Bear, but stolen back by Del Rio, who finds Nairn. Salem. Here's a stat that really surprised me, Danielle, and I actually had to check it twice when I calculated it this week. This ball comes over the top, and Weiss will make the catch. The Spirit have led at the half in their franchise history 10 times. They've only won 4.
Wow.
4 wins and 6 ties when leading at the half.
Wow. That's definitely an interesting stat. You are just whipping out the stats this
I
week.
am.
You're good with it.
Well, when you give me 2 weeks to prepare and the high school season's over for my day
Right,
job, then
yeah.
I have time to do spreadsheets and more spreadsheets.
Right.
Io. Well handled by Oyster. Picked up now on the near side by Kendall Johnson. Battling DaCosta. Good step from Johnson. On her right foot. Shakes DaCosta. Gets the cross in. Volley attempt by Shim blocked. And now Church will pop it up. Foul here, and I think Paul Raleigh wanted that call a couple seconds earlier.
Right. And then you hear Mark Parsons yelling, "You didn't call it a couple of seconds ago."
So a good spot for Allie Long. He already has 1 assist tonight to pick up a second. Token wall of Amanda DaCosta for the Spirit. Kelsey Weiss shouting out instructions from inside of her 6. Right-footed serve from Allie Long. Towards the 6. Weiss off her line, gets a piece of it. Still loose. Io rising for it. And a good header from Catherine Reynolds. Counter on now for Del Rio. Only has Dunn in support. Good foot there from Williamson to break up the initial pass, but they'll try again, and the flag is up on Crystal Dunn.
Right. And she knew it. She knew it.
Crystal Dunn is 2nd in the league in being caught offside. Allie Long is 1st, which surprised me.
Wow. That is interesting. That is a good one there. Because really we haven't seen, and we know what we're, Allie Long is capable of, but we really haven't seen her get into the attack much. Other than the fact, actually, right now, she's pushing incredibly high.
I think that's an adjustment you have to make. Down a goal.
Oh, yeah.
Trust Zerboni and Farley to shield your back line. Farley's done a nice job of getting forward. But maybe she takes more of a defensive role and sacrifices to allow Allie Long to take that attacking spot. Woman's had a good match. She steals the ball there. Stays in play now for the Spirit. Reynolds trying to pick the channel, but broken up, and now Io will turn forward. Goal score for Portland, dispossessed by Christine Nairn. Now Sam with a good ball right for DaCosta. Dunn making the run off her shoulder. It is played for Crystal Dunn. Nice touch by Williamson. Dunn in the box on the right side. Crossing it, deflected, and goes off the post. Spirit will get a corner as Mingus got a foot in on the initial ball from Crystal Dunn, but still, even with the deflection, a lot of pace.
And that was a good little stutter step that Crystal Dunn did to kind of to throw Mingus off a little bit.
Spirit show options for the short corner for Angela Salem. Church is there. Dunn is there. Nairn as well. War drums are playing from the opposite side from the Spirit Squadron as Salem serves the ball in. It's a good one, too, headed out by Sinead Farley. Knocked back in the mixer by DaCosta. One again in the air by Williamson. And Anama thought she had help on the far side and didn't, and he concedes the throw in. Throw up the line. Dunn trying to shake Van Hollenbeck. And the last two cuts for the national team for the World Cup. Battle goes Van Hollenbeck's way this time. It just never seemed like she quite got 100% healthy in the lead up to the Women's World Cup. Did start against Iceland in the Algarve Cup, but that was her last chance in front of the public. I believe she also played in that closed-door match that was the finale before Joelle was named the roster officially. Williamson knocking it forward. Megan Oyster, I think, is someone that should get a look in the next cycle on the ball now. Good observations. I believe it was from Dan Lauletta's post on the Equalizer talking about the rookie class and what they've done this year. It's been a really good year.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I was thinking about earlier with, you know, Whitney Church and Oyster playing, two rookies playing next to each other in the back line. You really, you can't tell that there's two rookies playing next to one another.
And some of that league-wide has been necessity that your rookies have had to step forward.
Right.
But Whitney Church beat out Alex Singer, who's a veteran player.
Yeah.
Can't get a good pass off there. And also, you know, we talked about this in preseason, Danielle. Whitney Church was playing outside back, but it was just kind of the body out there. She was a center back and a good one at Penn State, but now she's made that right back spot her own.
Right. And we were concerned about how, you know, that would translate, and you know, obviously she wouldn't be used to going a full 90 up and back, you know, between 18 to 18. But, you know, I think she's done well and stepped into that role and has won it at this point.
I think what's helpful is you have a rotation of four players in Salem, Lohman, Nairn, and Huster that are very good at fighting back and winning the ball and taking pressure off your back line. Oyster in her own 18. We'll think she might have handled that one. Long certainly thought so, but we'll play on. DaCosta dumping it into space for Crystal Dunn. Bit of a heavy touch there, but she still keeps going. Dunn cutting back at the edge of the 18. 1-on-4, and finally gets blocked by Van Hollenbeck and will knuckle out for a corner. Crystal Dunn is one of the few players in the world that can do that. I mean, her first touch was bad, and she still almost beat three players.
I feel like this whole evening, and sorry for those that are listening, we have been talking a lot about Crystal Dunn, but she has been doing a lot. It was 1 versus 3, and she still was able to get behind. Van Hollenbeck did a great job to recover and just kind of threw her off balance, and she didn't get a great strike on it.
So after going with the Salem short corner package for the first three, it'll be Christine Nairn and a more conventional serve here from the left side. Spirit with a 7-2 advantage in shots on goal, looking to add to that right here. Good serve towards Lohman. Betos initially had trouble making that catch, but recovered nicely. Good balance there to make the catch and then spray it left for Kendall Johnson. That went out of play for a Spirit throw, as Johnson couldn't keep it in. Yeah, right in front of the Spirit bench, you're not going to get away with that.
No way.
You had about 10 assistant referees on that sideline leaping to their feet.
Assistant coach Lloyd Yaxley, you really never see him leave his feet, but he was up shouting for that ball out of bounds. Because that could have been a great counter if it would have stayed in.
Well, a good goalkeeper, you don't leave your feet until you have to. So Lloyd as a coach is employing that. I should mention also, speaking of goalkeeping coaches, that Scott Vowell is on that Portland bench, and he coached Weiss last year. Ball inside, and Lohman is open for a reason. She's offside. Action from the other game, and again, cover your ears if you don't want to hear this. Boston Breakers have scored. Mewis in the 51st minute, and they lead FC Kansas City. You can uncover your ears now.
Kansas City has had some lopsided results. You know, some games, you know, that they've won or lost this season It was definitely not what I think people were expecting from them this season.
But it seemed like they were starting to turn the corner a little bit.
Right.
I also think Boston has exceeded expectations and really played well.
Sure.
If they hang on to this result, it'll be their 3rd win in 7 games. It's
Mhm.
not bad
Right.
for a young team that just lost Kat Whitehill to retirement this week.
What a great career Kat Whitehill has had.
Yeah, we'll chat about that more after this attack as a woman knocks it off of her. Yeah, I mean, someone that made the national team at a very young age, was impactful at a very young age in that 2003 World Cup, and was really an anchor for that team, and then had some injury problems that kind of took her out of the national team picture, but then she became a very good servant at the club level, captaining the Freedom, captaining Boston. Del Rio with a bit of a flop there,
Yeah,
and
that she sold that well.
referee thought it was good enough and shows yellow to Allie Long.
She definitely left her feet. There was a little bit of contact from Allie Long, but I don't think enough to bring her down as hard as she was brought down.
Long booked for the first time this year. First booking of the game will come in the 57th minute, and Nairn territory. Spirit already have one 3-1 win this year with a Christine Nairn free kick goal in the back end, but this is going to be a tougher one.
Mhm. A little bit further distance than her last goal from this range. Or I guess from this position, I should say.
Thorns well aware of the danger. 4 in the wall, and Allie Long, that's Ben Hollenbeck adjacent to the wall. Crystal Dunn is there as well. Nairn's free kick is a beauty, but Beto saw it all the way. Bent in towards the far post, and a pretty easy catch for the 27-year-old from New York. Long punt. One in the air by Reynolds. She'll get it back from Salem, knock it forward again. Ben Hollenbeck will watch it roll for a throw-in. Good turn from Lohman. And she'll work in Church. Spirit have picked up what they left off in the first half. They've been on the front foot for most of the 12.5 minutes so far since the break. Leading 2-1. One goals by Amanda DaCosta and Crystal Dunn after Ayo Ananma opened scoring for Portland in the 18th minute, assisted by Allie Long. Both of the Spirit's goals unassisted officially.
With the Spirit right now, and you saying, they've really been on the front foot for the last 15 minutes. Even going back to last year, remembering, how was this team going to play? Were they going to be possession-oriented, or were they going to be a little bit more direct, playing into Jodie Taylor? But tonight, they really have varied up the way they've played. They've looked to try to find Crystal Dunn into space and also try to find her feet, and I think the possession has been good.
Header through looking for Camo, and Reynolds will fight for it on the sideline and give away a throw-in. And I also think that Christine Nairn's versatility has allowed the Spirit to play different styles.
Sure.
She can play deep midfield like she
Absolutely.
is today. She can play center forward. She can play out wide. Direct ball for who else? Crystal Dunn. She's onside this time, trying to shake. Johnson does so, making the far post runs to Costa. Dunn in the box, looking for help, playing it across, and it's deflected. And easily picked off by Michelle Betos, and Mark Parsons shrugging. I'm not sure what he wanted from that or whether he thought there was contact, but
I'm sure that's probably what he's asking for, because there was a good bit of contact.
Oyster does well there to head off Long's chance at the pass and knock it back to Weiss. That was a really good direct counter from Portland. Church, Salem, into space now for Dunn again. Against Mingus. First time cross for Lohman, and again, a good spot there from Betos to come off her line and make the catch just at the edge of her 6. She'll be seeing that mistake that led Crystal Dunn to score in her nightmares, but otherwise it's been a good pass for Michelle Betos. But, if this game ends this way, that's 2 games, the Boston won the other one, that you can point at and say, well, if Michelle Betos hadn't made a mistake here, the Thorns would have gotten a point.
Exactly. But she's a professional. You have to, you can think about it, make yourself better, but you got to get over it because you got bigger things ahead of you.
Farley. Shem. Back again for Sinead Farley. Into space now. A good ball and a tangle here at the box, and a late whistle does go against Estelle Johnson as Allie Long goes down right at the edge of the 18 inside the D.
Well, exactly what Allie Long was just complaining about down here. She did at the opposite end. I really didn't think there was much contact from Estelle Johnson. I wish I had some sort of replay.
Gonna have a card.
I'm not sure.
Card's out of the pocket, but he's walking away from Estelle Johnson. That's what I'm confused about. And it's a yellow to Johnson. Referee pointed back at the other end and said, here's a late yellow, and now a yellow to Estelle Johnson. So, excuse me, let me clean that up. Williamson with the yellow for Portland. Estelle Johnson for Washington. But I'm not sure what Kat Williamson did.
Did she speak up? Did she say something? I'm not really sure what's going on.
Again, we saw the referee point back at the other end.
Yeah.
Like, you did something back there,
yeah.
But I'm not really sure why you wouldn't have taken care of it then.
There was nothing earlier in the game that Kat Williamson did that I thought was worthy of a yellow card.
Williamson getting her second yellow of the year in her 50th NWSL appearance, but Spirit now have to just put everybody in the wall and hope Kelsey Weiss can see this one cleanly. Shim and Io, the options for the Thorns as they try and get level here in the 62nd minute. It looks like it will be Shim. Spirit have 7 in the wall. Chance from Shim is a good one and just inches wide.
And it's such a dangerous shot. You know, what do you do from there? Do you curl it in, you know, to the post, or do you hit it with power and hope it gets through the wall? 7 people to get through a wall, that's not very easy to do.
So, an eventful 30 seconds there. Yellow both ways.
Right.
To center backs, which is always a dangerous proposition because you worry about that second yellow later. And then a good free kick from Mona Shim goes just wide. Zerboni knocking it forward. Header won by Oyster, who's had a really good game. Pass by Nairn is deflected, and now a counter for the Thorns and Shim. Into space now looking for Farley. Good body control there from Reynolds. She goes down in the box, and the referee's assistant on the far side said, yes, that's a foul. And the Spirit will have a chance to clear their lines. As slow to get up is Catherine Reynolds.
It was kind of an awkward fall, the way she hit and the way she left her feet.
Spirit already had a couple subs stretching, but now Caprice Didasco is picking up her efforts in case she's needed. It looks like she won't be, as Reynolds will try and shake it off for now. We mentioned the impact that Church has made, you know, beating out Singer. Also really beating out Didasco, who was someone we thought in preseason would be fighting for one of those outside back spots.
And I remember being so impressed with her, watching her in that first inter-squad scrimmage.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, kind of got hurt and was set back a bit.
Oh, and immediately the stretcher is called on for Angela Salem. Didn't see what happened behind the play there, but certainly concern for Salem here in the 64th minute as the trainer was waved on immediately.
And Farley, looks like Farley is a little shooken up as well.
Two teams will take the opportunity to get some water. So we'll reset things for you here in the 64th minute. It's 2-1 Washington. Ayo Anonymous goal in the 18th minute, assisted by Allie Long, giving Portland the lead, but then the Spirit responded with 2 goals in 3 minutes. It was Amanda DaCosta off a deflection, getting a breakaway in the 26th minute, and then Crystal Dunn forcing a turnover from Michelle Betos and finishing easily in the 28th minute. So our scoring summary so far, we've seen 3 bookings, as Williamson and Long have seen yellow for Portland. Johnson has seen yellow for Washington. But the concern right now for Angela Salem.
She's definitely holding her head. And that was why immediately the trainer was brought on.
Tori Houston already out of commission tonight, so your midfield depth is a bit thinner. Again, Didasco is the sub that's doing the most right now.
Well, what type of change, if, you know, it seems as if Angela Salem's going to have to come off. What type of change do you make here?
You have to consider at least, you know, maybe moving Dunn back or Del Rio back or DaCosta back because you have a little bit more depth up front. You can bring Didasco in, you can bring Weimer in. You don't have a ton of true midfielders that are on your bench right now. Most of them are on the field.
There's one true midfielder in Skogerbo.
Yes.
Who, you know,
the amateur.
who's always brought up from the reserves, and has been with them through preseason. She is a midfielder, and she could easily, but she doesn't seem as if she's not warming up right now.
Skogerbo can play everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The initial signal is 18. Actually, it's going to be a change for Portland before we see the change for Salem as Jackson is ready to go.
It's like they're actually letting Salem go back in.
Fourth officials waved her on, so yeah, like you, Danielle, I thought Angela Salem's night was done, but
Oh, yeah.
whatever it was, she's shaking it off.
Just wanted a break.
So when we get another stoppage, it'll be Jackson, who started last week for Portland in that lone striker position. So an attacking move for Paul Riley, down a goal midway through the half here. And it will be, they have 18 on the board, which is Betos. That can't be right.
No, that's why everyone's just looking around.
It's Zerboni.
Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe the board there didn't have 2 sevens.
Right, maybe. I don't know.
So that was interesting. I was looking at that board. I'm like, that can't be right. So that's definitely an attacking move. And McCall Zerboni, who's played every minute of every game for Portland, rests for the first time this year. Knocked along by Oyster. So it looks like Jackson and Io are going to play as forwards. Long's going to stay pretty high as well. So in essence, it's a 3-4-3 for Portland right now.
Yeah, and Long has mostly been staying high. We haven't seen much of her in the middle of the field in the second half. She's been more of like a left forward.
Free kick now for Portland right on the center stripe here in the 68th minute. So 2 changes made for the Thorns. Spirit still have all 3 available to them as Johnson wins the header. Second ball falls to Shim. Shot from Shim's a good one, but Weiss saw it and made the catch. Will fall on it to protect the rebound in case Anama had any ideas of manipulating and aping Crystal Dunn's act. Get a steal off a goalkeeper mistake. Long punt from Weiss. Header won by Farley forward. Good turn from Oyster, and she'll go back to Weiss.
Something that we've also seen out of Oyster early on in the season, she loved to take people on from the back, and we haven't seen much of that.
Turnover here as Jackson nearly got involved, and Johnson had to clean up. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Oyster's someone that's been very comfortable in the ball. We saw it in the feature we aired on her at the first home match against FC Kansas City, where she created the game-winning goal in overtime of the national championship game for UCLA 2 years ago. Turnover to Lohman, trying to shake Farley. Goes left now for Reynolds. Nairn. The 1-2 with Salem. Outside for Church. Minga saw it all the way and cleared. Oyster now for DaCosta. Johnson. And finishing the job left for Church. Lohman pressure by Shim, goes back again. Lohman gets it back, keeps it in play nicely on the sideline. Ships it forward for Dunn. And up for a Spirit throw. Spirit 20 minutes in stoppage time from potentially bagging the first ever win against the Portland Thorns. They already broke one long losing streak this year by beating Sky Blue FC not once but twice after never beating them the first 2 years of this franchise's existence. As Del Rio was fouled hard there by Farley. And she will become the third Portland player to get a yellow card, joining Long and Williamson. And a free kick for the Spirit.
That was a bit of a frustration foul. I think she was beat at that point.
Service from Christine Nairn. Towards Lohman. Headed out. Picked up on the other side by Megan Oyster. And she thought about turning forward there, but decided to let it roll for a throw and get back in position.
Waste a little time, you're ahead. Managing the game a little bit.
Flick from Dunn. Cleaned up by Allie Long. Stolen away by Sam, who looks to be okay after spending some time on the ground a few minutes ago. Dunn goes down after being unable to split that double team. Slow to get back on her feet as Portland attacks across the other way. Jackson with the steal as Dunn is walking back towards midfield. Chance now with Shim on her left, but Oyster steps and does a huge favor there for her defense. And a foul there by Jackson, and it looks like she is going to see yellow also.
I think this game is just getting a little out of control with the fouls, and I have no problem with the physicality of the game, but that was just a nasty takedown. She threw one person down, I forget who it was, maybe Nairn in the middle of the field got thrown to the ground, and then Oyster 5 seconds later.
But back to the play before the foul, it was there.
Yeah.
Shim was wide open on the left side, and
Wide
Jackson
open.
just thought about it too long.
Right.
Oyster made a really good step to break that up, and then Jackson with the frustration fouls her and gets the yellow. So now if you're Portland, you've got 4 players on yellows. Now you worry about that frustration bubbling up and somebody getting a second yellow or even a red, and this task of digging out of this 1-goal hole becomes even tougher. Throw for Portland on the far side in the 73rd minute. Caprice Didasco getting instructions from Mark Parsons right now. Looks like she'll be the first change for the Spirit. Didasco's played just a half hour this year off the bench in 2 matches. Shim. Van Hollenbeck. Left for Johnson. Stolen by DaCosta. Touch forward by Dunn, who looks to be okay after going down behind the play on that last Portland attack that initially ended with the Jackson yellow. Didasco's got her card in hand. She's handing it to the 4th official now. Church's throw up the line for DaCosta. Back again for Church. Nairn, unable to find Dunn. Mingus gets a foot in, plays Sinead Farley, and now it comes back for Williamson. Salem. And back again for Oyster. Johnson nearly gives away his Oyster with some good pressure forward, forcing Long to go back and Mingus to dump it deep. Io heading into space for Jackson, and so Johnson will clean up for a throw-in. Looks like it'll be Lohman making way for Didasco here in the 75th minute. Good shift from Joanna in the midfield.
I think this is probably one of her best games I've seen her play in a Spirit uniform. She was just all over the place, making runs out of the middle. Her and Dunn had a great connection, especially in the first half. She get a huge round of applause for her performance this evening.
So some fresh legs and speed on in Didasco. She'll get her first touch here in the 75th minute. Chance to look forward. Right, looking for Dunn, but it's stolen by Mingus and played forward. Kendall Johnson's early ball looking for Io and easily sniffed out by Kelsey Weiss. We've seen more of Kendall Johnson getting into this game in the attacking end for Portland. I think that's another reason why you bring Didasco on, is to check her a little bit. Weiss will kill some time before rolling out and knocking it forward. Dunn winning the 50-50 header, but nobody in blue and red on the other end, and it'll be cleared into the sky by Williamson. Spirit have done a really nice job in the back winning this 50-50 headers.
Yeah, there really hasn't been, especially in like last 15 minutes or so, really no foot races with any of the balls getting behind the back line for the Spirit. They have done a really good job at winning those balls.
Johnson. Io posting up on Church. Going centrally for Shem. Camo opening up right. She'll get it, forcing Reynolds to defend. Reynolds getting a foot in, giving away a throw in. Do it again after Farley was bumped there by Angela Salem. Shim into the 18. Io trying to turn. It's a pretty good turn, but Nairn was there as second defender. Caught out for another throw in. Spirit leading 2-1. DaCosta and Dunn in the 26th and 28th minutes respectively. The difference in this one right now. Portland with a little bit of momentum as Shim's ball headed out. Johnson touching it up the line. Jackson in the corner. Cross blocked by Church, and a corner now for Portland. Thorns bench telling them to take their time and get it right. Got one of the best delivery services in the league in Allie Long. It's a good ball towards the far post, headed by a couple of players. I believe Io got the last touch, and it does go out for a goal kick. Long did her job nicely there. It was a good ball to the far post.
That was a very good ball. I was just thinking, it seems like the energy has kind of died down a little bit in the game. Not a huge amount of action. There's only, 13 minutes plus some stoppage time left. The Spirit and the Thorns, both sides really, I think, would want to pick up the energy, not only to protect for the Spirit, but then to get the equalizer for the Thorns.
But I think this does help the Spirit more than it helps Portland, just because the less action, the less chance you're going to give up a tying goal. But I agree with you. It seems like, really late in that first half, too, we saw it where Portland's down and going. Betos is taking 25, 30 seconds to take a goal kick. Del Rio back for Reynolds. Gets it back. The Spaniard walking the tightrope on the sideline. Playing it for DaCosta. In the box now for Dunn. Shot from Dunn and just wide. Betos says, I didn't get a piece of that, and the referee agrees that it'll be a goal kick. Crystal Dunn, we know about her speed and her ability to finish in close, but she's added that to her game of late as well, that ability to shoot from 18 to 20 yards out. Steal from Salem now. Shipping it for Dunn, and she gets a piece of it, but it's a hard ball to bring down, and it goes through for a goal kick again. Thorns have one substitute remaining. The Spirit have two as we move into the final 11 minutes of normal time. We'll have some stoppage time, mostly from the injury to Angela Salem, but goals to stop the clock this half. Couple bookings, 4 of them, 3 on the Thorns. Io's header. Weiss will call off Reynolds and scoop on her own 18. Portland is ready in that last change. Dunn at the 18, step over, laying it off. First time shot right at Betos from Del Rio.
It looks as if Alex Singer is getting ready to go in for the Spirit, which is, I think, a good move, a good defensive move.
Io turning, space now for the shot. Blocked, though. Might have been handled by Estelle Johnson, but will continue. Io gets a second one to the top of the 18. Long, looking for an angle. Being forced to go right. Camo chip towards the 6 and just a step away from finding Io as Weiss comes off her line to make the play. Good attack there from the Thorns, who are starting to pick it up a little bit energy-wise.
With all the points that Allie Long has been putting up, not only for the franchise, but this season, she really hasn't gotten any really good opportunities on frame this evening.
It's a good job there from the Spirit defense not to allow her to shoot that ball. She was in a good position, but had no angle whatsoever to shoot that ball. Del Rio. DaCosta. Looking for Dunn. Dunn blocks the clearance. Flag is up there, and I believe it was handled by Crystal Dunn. And we'll hold up this free kick to allow the change and allow Alex Singer to come on. Singer for Del Rio is the change.
Which it looks like Caprice Didasco is moving over to the opposite side, maybe drop into a 4-5-1 at this point, less than 10 minutes, protect your lead, and put, Alex Singer as a right midfielder.
That's what they'll do, it looks like. Early ball looking for Long, headed by a couple players on the way through. Long saves it, though, temporarily. And it will be a corner, which I think Long...
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Referee's having a word with Oyster and saying, no, my mistake, it's a goal kick. Yeah, I mean, why would Long go for that ball if it was off of a Spirit player? Alyssa Kleiner has thrown off the penny. She'll be the third change for the Thorns, and she started at defender last week, so I think it's just a matter of Paul Rowley just needing somebody fresh to put on.
Sure.
Not specifically a forward, but just somebody that can come in and maybe make a difference and maybe allow somebody else to push up.
Yeah, and at this point, with 8 minutes left plus some change, just say, hey, you got this amount of time, do something out there, work hard, put in your good time, run around like crazy, make something happen.
Spirit fans chanting, we want Ocho. They want Tiffany Weimer to make her season debut as the third Spirit change. Kleiner will be the sub now. Como will come off. Kleiner making her third appearance of the year, amateur call-up from Las Vegas. One of the many Santa Clara players in this league. Singer with a header forward for Dunn, gets it back. Chance now for Singer to charge up the right side. Not a lot of support in the box. She'll try and play it for DaCosta. Gets all the way through. Betos there making a mess of that as Didasco was there, and finally the Thorns just whack it clear. I'm not sure what Betos was trying to do there.
I think she thought she could leave her feet and get it at some point with her hands, but they had just so much pace on it that it got completely past her.
If the Spirit hadn't been holding some numbers back to defend, I think that would have been a goal.
Sure.
They only had one player making that far post run, and it was Didasco coming late. Church hitting it high. Popped up towards Jackson. Church will head it towards the sideline. It will fall for Jackson, who will shield and get a throw in. Clearance by Church, deflected by Long towards the middle. Farley. Kleiner. Collision there with Salem, and Salem slow to get up. She's already been injured once in this half, but has gone through, and this is why sometimes you keep that third change, just in case something like this happens. Long broken up well by Church and Salem. Angela Salem is continuing to play, but should hopefully need some ice tonight.
I think so.
The punt from Kelsey Weiss. Gets by Singer. Headed forward by Menges. Kept alive by Johnson. Knocked down by Oyster for Church. Angela Salem. Dunn trying to combine with Singer, but well defended by Menges. Long. Playing it into space, looking for Kleiner. Reynolds and Weiss there with a bit of hesitation, but finally Weiss will come out and get it.
A little iffy on that play. They weren't really sure if the ball was even going to make it into the 18.
Didasco will show for it, get the pass from Estelle Johnson and turn nicely towards the middle. Pass though for Salem's off the mark, and that allows Jackson to start the counter for Portland. But Salem stands her up well. Second wave comes through Farley. Beats one, beats the second with the ball to Shim. Laid back in, 1-2 now. Farley's pass blocked by Megan Oyster. And forward for Dunn. Outlet is Didasco, she'll get it. Wide right it comes. Dunn will let it go for Singer. Singer trying to run it down, cannot do so.
Little anticlimactic there.
Yes. Shim for Farley. Headed by Oyster. Space now for Nairn, and she'll go back for Reynolds. Spirit trying to kill off the final 4 minutes and change, plus stoppage time of this one, leading 2-1. On goals by Amanda DaCosta, her first in the league in the 26th minute. And Crystal Dunn adding to her league-leading total. She now has 6 after striking in the 28th minute. Nairn. Church. Mingus heads it down. Johnson shielding. Stolen away by Alex Singer with help from DaCosta. She'll find the feet of Dunn, who completes the triangle back to DaCosta. Space now for Salem. Left it comes for Caprice Didasco. Back it comes for Nairn. Early ball in towards DaCosta, headed out. Salem just dumping it away from space and draws the foul on Kleiner.
At this time, the Spirit need to think, less than 3 minutes left. Just kind of knock the ball or try to find it to the corners. Waste some time.
Well, Didasco's wide open on the left right now if they want to try that.
Right, exactly. Don't really put any shots on frame because once Betos collects it, she punts it, it's a counter. Kind of protect yourself by, keeping the ball.
And Nairn's going to do just that.
She heard
Hit
me.
it left for Didasco. Didasco can't keep it in play, though, but some time wasted and a goal kick now for Michelle Betos, who will wave her team forward as she'll try and take this one quickly in the 89th minute now. Farley heads it on. DaCosta gets a piece of it. Dunn now chesting down the pass from Didasco and playing it left for the rookie from UCLA. Space now for Caprice on the sideline. Going back for Reynolds. In the center now for Salem. A little bit of keep away as it goes for Dunn. Dunn turns though. Dunn in the box. 1-on-1. Dunn shot and a great save from Betos. Betos going to her right, keeping Crystal Dunn from putting this game on ice.
Crystal Dunn, like I said earlier, we've been saying her name so much. She's so good, but she a lot of times has some luck too. It seemed like it was just a tad bit lucky that she got that ball through there, but she has just been so great tonight for the Spirit and all season, really.
I was about to say, I would think if there's a spot for the short corner, it's here, and Didasco will show short right now for DaCosta, and it will be Caprice Didasco getting it off the short corner and taking it to the corner. Gets a throw in. Tiffany Weimer will come on if time allows. Be a big moment for her. Christine Nairn going all the way back to Estelle Johnson. Nairn switching it left for Didasco, who chests it down smartly. Not in a hurry to get forward. Goes on the floor for Dunn. Dunn at the top of the 18. Dropping it back behind Salem, but that's all right. Wastes some more time, keeps possession. There's Dunn again. Back for Salem. Harlem Globetrotters action now. A little bit of keep away, some tricks from Salem and Dunn. Singer now. She'll go to the corner. Somehow that stays in play, and now it will be a Portland throw. Alex Singer says no. And here we go. For the first time since August 24th, 2013, Tiffany Weimer's on. And it'll be Amanda DaCosta, the scorer of the first goal, making way. So a big moment for Weimer coming on against her former club. And she is hopping.
I'm kind of getting goosebumps right now for her. I bet it's just so exciting for her to come back from a torn ACL and finally step on the field again.
And we've talked about this before with her. She was playing so well in preseason last year before she went down.
She really was.
Goes out now. Will be a throw for Portland. Popped up by Farley. 50-50 header won by Shem. Now Long trying to shake Nairn. Goes right for Io. Back now for Long. She'll rip it first time. Deflected, cleared by Oyster. And then the job finished by Catherine Reynolds. Weimer now against Farley. Trying to open up some space. Going left now for Reynolds. Stolen by Jackson off of Nairn's foot. Now in the middle for Long. Counter is on. Long in the box. Goes down right at the edge. What is the call? There is no call. And Io will rip it wide. Allie Long still down saying, where was my whistle there?
Right. I actually thought it was pretty good contact. Did knock her off the ball a little bit, but I think that was a good no call. But that was just a silly giveaway in the back line for the Spirit. You're never going to pass to a center back who is a player on a square ball. That's just not a good decision.
Well, and going back to that chance, Jackson was open in the middle. Long decided to go herself.
Wide open.
Which wasn't a terrible decision, but, you know, most of the time you see that pass made there.
Right.
But I understand Allie Long's willingness and to show some initiative and try and get the tying goal herself with the season she's had. Long again, battling Estelle Johnson this time. Dives there after being contacted, and it will be a foul. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a dive. It was a dive, but she definitely dove after she got hit.
She definitely got hit.
A foul.
Yeah, that was a foul. And those are two major mistakes from Estelle Johnson in the last minute. The first on the giveaway, she sprints forward, dives in. Allie Long's by herself, looking to get a shot on frame, and then just that silly foul there. All you need to do is hold her up and not allow her to turn and face.
Stoppage tie. We've seen some crazy stuff here. Could Portland make another chapter in that book? Allie Long directing the runs here, yelling at her teammates. Into stoppage time now. Long serve in, directly on goal. Weiss gets a piece of it. Singer fighting for it, kept alive by Farley for Portland. Van Hollenbeck crosses, blocked by Salem, kept alive, knocked forward. Jackson trying on the end of it, and a big-time header from Christine Nairn to knock it out for a corner.
They just, Mark Parsons is at the corner of his box just hoping to get out of the next minute or so. We actually didn't see how much stoppage time.
I was just going to ask you if you saw it. I didn't see it either.
I don't think they raised it up.
Even Betos is forward for this one. Corner in. Goes off a couple of bodies. Loose at the top of the 18. Low shot blocked. Betos diving for it. She can't get on it. Long shot from Mingus deflected again, and Alex Singer just knocked this one long. And it doesn't matter. For the first time in franchise history, the Washington Spirit defeat the Portland Thorns 2-1.
What I mean, this actually was, besides the lull in like the middle of the second half where everything kind of settled down a little bit. It was high action. There were some good chances for both teams, but fortunately for the Spirit, they came away with a 2-1 win, the first one in franchise history against the Thorns.
What can you say about Crystal Dunn, third game-winning goal of the year?
We only said her name tonight, going forward, really. She had a great night putting a ball in the back of the net. Wasn't probably her best goal of the season, but maybe it was because of her hard work. She just sniffed out a bad touch from Betos, took it off of her foot, and put it into the back of the net.
Spirit's last two performances, yes, they beat Sky Blue FC. They didn't look great doing it. Then they go up to Western New York, don't really play that well and lose. Great to see the response tonight and get 3 points and play very, very well in a win.
Oh, sure. And I mean, looking at the scoreboard right now, it says shot on goal, Spirit 11, Portland Thorns 3. So they absolutely dominated the possession. They dominated the shots. You know, corners as well, I believe. Oh, no, it was tied 4-4. But altogether, I think it was a very good performance for the Spirit.
So the Spirit move into second place. Now 1 point behind Chicago. The Red Stars have played 2 less matches now than the Spirit, so they've really gotten off to a good start.
Right.
But Spirit getting a little bit of space between them, and that cluster in the middle was entering today. There were 17 3 points of each other.
Right. Right. And these are huge wins, especially without, you know, all the World Cup players, Ali Krieger, Ashlyn Harris. These are just huge points that the Spirit are putting up, you know, during this time.
3-0 at home as well to get results at the Plex.
Exactly.
Portland, for the 10th straight match on the road, failed to get a win. That's something that needs to be fixed for Paul Riley's team to be a playoff team again this year.
Right, and they do have those players. Unfortunately, right now they're gone on international duty. So, but the Thorns are going to have to find a way in the next couple of weeks to put some wins up without those players.
Final thoughts on this one?
Hard fought, but definitely in the first half, the Spirit had a lot more of the possession. At the end there, obviously you're losing in the last 10 minutes. Portland made a good push, but the Spirit definitely held strong.
Goal scoring summary for you one more time. It was Io from long giving Portland the lead in the minute, and that's a note as well. The second time ever the Thorns have lost after scoring first. Amanda DaCosta tied it in the 20th minute. Crystal Dunn grabbing the winner in the 28th. So the Spirit move on the year now to 4-3-1, now +1 in goal differential. They're on 13 points, 1 behind Chicago. Portland now falls to 2-3-2. The Thorns back on the road to play at Houston next Saturday. That game kicks at 8:30 Eastern time before the World Cup break. Spirit are back here to play the Boston Breakers next week at 7 o'clock. And Danielle, you won't be with us for that one.
I will not. I will be at a wedding, but hopefully we have somebody else that can fill in for me.
Stay tuned on that one. It might be interesting. So for Danielle Malagary, I'm Michael Minnick. Let's wrap it up for the Maryland Soccer Bucks. The Spirit get their first ever win over the Portland Thorns 2-1. Thanks for watching.